Show of hands if you've ever used Microsoft Word. Show of hands if you've ever been frustrated using Microsoft Word. I'm right there with you. Today, I want to try to help you. I'm going to give you 10 tips and tricks to help make Microsoft Word just a little bit more productive. So come on, let's make it simple. Tip number 1, dark mode. Dark mode is a feature that allows working on your laptop just a little bit easier on your eyes. You don't have that harsh contrast of the light coming at you. Now, this tip is going to be specific to Mac users. For us Mac users, to enable dark mode, we actually have to go into our computer settings. If you go to System Preferences, you want to click on the General tab. Once you're in the General section, we can take our Mac into dark mode. You'll see in the Appearance tab, you have Light, Dark, and then you have Auto. The Auto will automatically adjust to the settings around you. So if it's light, it'll give you light mode. If it's dark, it'll transition into dark mode. So it goes back and forth. Because we are changing these settings on the entire system, everything will be transitioned into dark mode. So when I click dark mode, you'll see it takes all of my dialog boxes. Instead of that gray tint, we'll have that dark tint behind it. When I go over to Microsoft Word, I now have Word enabled in dark mode. Once I have Word enabled in dark mode, I can go to the Word settings, and now I can adjust how I specifically want this dark mode to appear. When I go to the Word preferences under the General section towards the middle of that screen, you'll see the Personalize. And this allows you to personalize how exactly you want your dark mode to appear. So right now I have my dark mode appearing with that dark page color, so it's dark on dark. If I want to have just a little bit of contrast between the two, I can turn the page color to a different page color. Everything else will still stay in dark mode, but then I have that contrast right there with the white page color and the dark background. From this setting, I can also completely turn off dark mode. In the Office theme section, this is where it's a little different on a Mac where it is on a PC. On our theme settings, the only settings that we have offered to us are colorful and aluminum. Mine's in aluminum right now, so that's why I have that silver background over all of my dialog boxes. On a PC, you can actually change dark mode right here in this setting rather than having to change your entire system's settings. So on a Windows computer, if you want to enable dark mode, you just have to go into these system preferences. In the General section, you have your Office theme, and you'll just change your Office theme to dark mode from there. Now, it will change dark mode for everything that encompasses Office, but you can at least have a differentiation between your computer settings and the Office theme settings. Tip number 2, your non-printing characters. So many times, people tell me that they're trying to get it back to single spacing, and every time they press backspace to get rid of the space, it goes all the way back up into the paragraph, and they can't just get it on a new line without having that space in between. This happens so often, and if it happens to you, you're not alone. I'm here to help you understand why it's happening and then give you some tools to fix it. In the middle of your screen, next to your sorting button, the AZ with the downward arrow to the right of that, you'll see a little paragraph mark. If you turn on that paragraph mark, that turns on your non-printing characters. But what it does is it allows you to see exactly what's being done to your document. So when I turn it on, I see some paragraph marks, I see some dots show up everywhere. And if I analyze it just a little bit further, every time I've pressed enter on my keyboard, the paragraph mark shows up at the end of that paragraph. I have a dot in between every single word. So a dot is telling me that there's a space in between every single word. So if I go back to that first scenario where they want it to be single spaced, and every time they press the backspace key, it takes them all the way up into the paragraph, you'll see that's because I don't have just a blank paragraph in between the two. There's spacing that's added there. So no matter how many times I backspace or press enter, that space is still going to be there because that's the setting that I have on that document. So now that I know that it's a spacing issue, I'll highlight all of my paragraphs. I'll go into my line spacing options and I'll choose to remove everything that has after spacing on it. And once I remove that after spacing, I can see now all of my paragraphs have been single spaced. So those non-printing characters are so helpful to show you exactly what you've done in the formatting of your paper. Now keep in mind, they are non-printing characters, so it doesn't matter if they're on or they're off, they'll never print. All of those marks, they'll completely go away when you send this to print or when you send it off to somebody. This is a setting that the individual has to have on their computer turned on in order to see all of those marks. Tip number 3, styles. Now, most of us have probably seen the styles button. It's right there in the middle of your screen on your home tab, but we may not have used it as often. If you click on that style section, there are a ton of styles available to you, and you can change their font color, their font size. You can change every single thing about their formatting to make it be exactly the way that you want it to appear. The benefit with using these styles, if you want to format something the same way every single time, instead of trying to remember all of that formatting, you can choose to apply the style to it, and that formatting will appear on that section. We're also going to see in just a second how these styles not only can help us in the formatting, but they're also going to be such a tremendous help to those of you that need to create sections within your document. So a table of contents, a table of figures. Styles are going to be so helpful to you. So I have a paper here, and I'm going to split this paper up into different sections. Obviously, I have technology and education. That's my title. So I'll highlight it and apply title style. Then you can see off to the left, I just have some sections within this paper. I'm going to apply all of these sections with the heading 1 style. When I apply heading 1 style, you'll see it changes my text to all caps. It gives it a blue color, a different font size. It adds some after spacing there. It'll have all of your formatting saved. So with a click of a button, every single thing that you need to be formatted can be formatted using those styles. Now, going back to the other benefit of styles, not only does it help you with the formatting, it can also help you streamline the process of creating a table of contents or a table of figures. Right here, you see I just have the body of my paper. I do want to create a table of contents so that when I turn in this paper, everyone knows exactly the major sections within my document. So I'm going to add a blank page above the body of my paper. I'll click on the title, I'll go to one of my breaks, I'll add a page break, and that gives me a blank page right at the top of my document. From here, I'll put in my title, table of contents. And now, instead of us having to remember all of those sections and the page numbers that they were on, if I go to the References tab, over on the left-hand side of the screen, you see a button for Table of Contents. They have pre-formatted options that have titles, styles, everything that's already there for you. You can choose any of those options, or you can create a custom table of contents. In the first box, you see all of those different styles that you can make the table of contents. You have your classic, your simple, your modern, your fancy. When you go through those options, you'll see what the table of contents would look like. Over in the right-hand side of that box, you'll notice heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So by default, your table of contents is generated by the heading styles that you've applied in your paper. You'll see heading 1 is level 1. It goes underneath of that, heading 2 is now level 2, and then underneath of that, heading 3 is now level 3. So if you have a chapter, a section within a chapter, and a section within a section within a chapter, you can apply all of those different styles, and it will put those styles into your table of contents accordingly. Now, one key thing that I do want you to notice, even though if I look into my document, I see that all of those headings, introduction, enhancing the learning experience, they're blue, they're bold, the font size is bigger, I have after spacing applied to them. This table of contents is going to be generated from the original text. Tip number 4, citations. Okay, do you remember the video that I did a few weeks ago on Zotero, which was a reference management software? Extremely helpful and beneficial in getting your citations and publications all organized and keeping all of your references in one secure place. Did you know Word also has that same exact feature? Now, I will tell you up front, Word does not have as many resources available as Zotero does. But if you're just looking for basic references, citations, bibliographies, it can do it all for you. The first thing that you want to do is choose the style in which you want your references to appear. you'll see in the style section, they have all of the major styles, APA, MLA, you have Turabian there as well. So you'll choose your appropriate style. Then in the reference section, you have insert citation. When I click insert citation, it pulls up a dialog box that allows me to input all of the information from my citation. You can choose a book, a journal article, a website. Once that information is put into the system, it'll store all of that data and hold that citation for you. So I'm just going to put in some random data here so that way you can see it. Now, please keep in mind, wherever your insertion point was, that's where it's going to put that citation, because we are clicking on insert citation. So you'll see that my insertion point was at the end of that first paragraph. When I was finished, I press OK, and then it puts in that citation for me. If you need to make changes to the actual citation itself, for example, it's just showing author date style. If I need to show page numbers as well, I can choose to show that page number. You can suppress different pieces of the citation. All of that is listed under the Edit Citation section. If you need to go edit the complete source, you'll click on your Edit Source button, and it brings you up to the same exact dialog box that you just saw, to where you can edit that entire source. I'm going to quickly go through and add just one more citation here, so that way we can have multiple references in our document. Once you've put that information into the software, it'll actually store it for you. So that way, if you need to use a citation over again, instead of going to the Insert Citations button, you'll click on the Citations button. You'll see a list of all of your citations that you've stored inside of Word. When you're ready, you'll go to the spot where you want to insert the citation, and then once you double click on that citation, it'll be generated right there where your insertion point is. Not only are these citations extremely helpful and beneficial, so that way you don't have to keep putting the information in over and over and over again, but if you allow the computer to generate your sources from the beginning, it'll also put in your bibliography for you at the very end. So we're going to go down to the very, very end of our document, and I have two options. I can insert the bibliography, or I can insert just the works that were cited. We'll choose the bibliography here, and when I click bibliography, my bibliography is generated in the exact style that I need, coming straight from the sources that I put in at the very beginning. So helpful in making your work just a little bit easier. Now you will notice, because this is another section in my paper, it went ahead and applied that heading 1 style to my bibliography. If I go back up into my table of contents, I do need to make sure that my table of contents is updated to show that I added something to my paper. So very, very simple to do. If you've already generated your table of contents, you go back up into the document, and you'll click on your Update Table button. That Update Table button is right there in the top left-hand corner of your screen. When you click Update Table, you can choose to update just the page numbers if you just move some text around and you need to update the page numbers, or you can choose to update the entire table, and that'll put in anything that you've added since the creation of your table of contents. You can click on that Update Table button, or if you're on a PC, function key F9, that's the refresh button. That'll also bring up the same exact dialog box. Tip number 5, editing a PDF. Now, if something is in PDF, when we open it up and try to make any changes to it, we know that we can't remove text, we can't delete anything, we can't add text to it, it can't be modified. For PDFs, one trick is to open that PDF in Word, and that will allow you to edit and make any necessary changes. So the document that we just had, I just exported it as a PDF document, so that way we can see as I'm going through, I can't make any modifications to it. When I go to that document and right-click on it, I can go to the Open With section, and if I open this with Microsoft Word, it'll pull up that document in Word and will allow me to make any modifications that I need to make. Now, I do want to be very, very honest with you. I am not trying to deceive anybody. Sometimes when we do this, it works flawlessly and it's perfect. Sometimes the formatting will be off just a little bit when you open it up in Word, and you'll need to work through some of that formatting. But for the most part, if you have PDFs that have simple formatting on them, this should work tremendously for you. Tip number 6, I want to throw in some line spacing tricks. Right here, everything is in single spacing. I'll highlight the entire paragraph and I'll use some shortcut keys to change my line spacing. On a PC, you'll use the Control key, and on a Mac, you'll use the Command key. If I use Command 2 together, it'll change that paragraph from single spacing to double spacing. Command 1 will change it back to single spacing, and Command 5 will change it to 1.5 spacing. Tip 7, the Format Painter. I have two lists that are showing up on my document. I'm going to go through and change just a few formatting characteristics. I'll remove my after spacing, I'm going to change the font color, and then I'm also going to bold my heading text. This format that I just applied to that first list, I want to take those same changes and apply it to my second list. Instead of trying to remember all of the formatting that you've done in previous sections, you can take the formatting from one section and apply it to another by using the Format Painter. I'll click on my heading text and highlight it. I'll choose the Format Painter, which is the paintbrush in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Then I'll click on the text that I want to apply the format to, which is my second title. You'll see all of that format update. I'm going to do the same thing to my list. I'll highlight my list, click the Format Painter button, and then go back and apply that format onto my second list. Now I want you to notice when I did this, it did continue from my previous section. So my numbers went 4, 5, 6 instead of starting over with 1, 2, 3. Simple fix here. If that happens, we can right click on that section and say restart numbering instead of continue from previous section. The Format Painter makes applying these formats so simple. Tip 8, shrinking to one page. How many times have we seen this to where our text just goes on to a second page and we need it all to fit on one singular page? Instead of trying to manipulate it ourselves, shrinking things, changing our font size, trying to delete some text, there's a button that we can press that will take all of that document and change everything that it needs to change in order to get all of that text to fit onto one page. It is extremely helpful. If we go up to the top of our screen, we see our quick access toolbar. That gives us quick access to some of the buttons that we use on a daily basis. You'll see your save button, your undo button, your redo button will sometimes be there. You can modify this quick access toolbar to show the tools that are going to be so helpful to you when you're working on documents. For us, if we go to that quick access toolbar, I'll click on the 3 dots, and then at the bottom of my screen, I see more commands. That's going to open the dialog box to allow me to put more commands onto this quick access toolbar. The left-hand section says choose command from. Instead of the popular commands, I'm going to choose all commands. This gives you access to every single command that's available in Microsoft Word. Whatever you need, go ahead and put that on the toolbar to help you. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom to where we see shrink one page. Once we have that, we'll click OK, and we'll click out of that dialog box. Go ahead and click on that shrink one page button, and you'll see it modifies that document to shrink everything down to fit perfectly on one page. Tip 9, inserting Microsoft objects. I have a table that I've created in Excel. I want to put that data from Excel into my Word document, but I don't want to just copy and paste. I want to link the two together. So that way, if I make modifications in my Excel spreadsheet, it'll automatically update in my Word document. It'll keep everything coherent. In order to do this, we need to go out to our Excel document. I'll take the text that I want to put into my Word document and copy it. But instead of just pasting it into my Word document, I want to paste special. In the top left-hand corner, you'll see all of your paste options. Go down to paste special, and we want to choose to put in this Microsoft object. When I click on that and then press OK, it'll put that text from my Excel spreadsheet into my Word document. Now, the benefit here, like we said earlier, if I need to make modifications to this spreadsheet, it'll keep everything linked together. So if I double click on this object that was just inserted, it's going to take me to Microsoft Excel. I can make any modifications and changes, and once I do and close out of that, and go back to my Word document, everything that I just did has been updated in Word. Extremely helpful and beneficial to making sure everything is done correctly and everything is just done one time. And finally, we made it tip number 10, shortcuts. I love shortcuts. I love being able to press a few buttons together and quickly navigate through my documents. First, your navigational keys. If you hold down Control on a PC or Command on a Mac and use your navigational keys, it will allow you to work within your paragraphs. So Command down arrow will move you down to the next paragraph. Command up arrow will move you up to the next paragraph. Now, if you add Shift onto that, Command Shift and then your navigational keys, that will allow you to select different parts of your paragraph. Command Shift right arrow will allow me to select that first line of the paragraph. Command Shift down arrow will allow me to select the entire paragraph. Command B will bold your text. Command U will underline your text. And Command I will italicize. Command C will copy. Command V will paste. And then my favorite, Command Z will undo your last action, and then Command Y will redo. I hope this was a help to you and that maybe you learned something new about Microsoft Word that you didn't know before. If so, please like and subscribe to our channel. It would help so much. Until next time, my name is Nikki, and this is Simple Tech Media.